Ed Rendell is with us here with his Subway Fresh Take. Good morning, Mr. Governor.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you?
More importantly, I was mayor of the city for 8 years, too.
I'm well aware, but I am told that whatever your highest office you ever achieve is the way you are to be introduced. This was how it was explained to me.
That is the protocol, but in Philadelphia, most people call me mayor.
Okay, fair enough.
And you were the mayor. I believe it was either 91 or 92. I want to say 91 that I was fortunate enough to be given the honor of flipping on the lights of the Christmas tree that year. And me and my wife and my son Mike was, I think, only 2 at the time, so Jake was even younger than that, was on my lap. And you were the mayor then, and we flipped the switch together, and it was a great memory.
You got it done.
Yeah, I got it right. I did that right.
So let's talk a little, because you are well known to have been a crazy Philadelphia Eagles fan and all Philadelphia sports fan throughout your entire life. And I happened to have run into you at a dinner not long ago where they honored Bud Selig in New York, and you came over and you were talking to me about Golic. Your recollections of this big lug in an Eagles uniform?
Well, he was lucky to play on that line.
Very true.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
How would you, as a lifelong native, how would you describe what the Philadelphia Eagles in particular mean to this city?
Well, it's an interesting point because the debate over sports stadiums always comes up, and you can't do the math because there are all different types of interpretations of what the economic benefits are. But what you can do is talk about what it means to a community. During the football season, our community, and not just the city, the region, South Jersey, we're more united than at any time. The shoe shine guy and the president of the biggest company, Brian Roberts, Comcast, they have the same opinion about the Eagles. It brings us together as a community. It adds a sense of feeling and purpose that almost nothing else does. I mean, you know, the city wins a prize for being the most livable city. That's great, but what are the Eagles doing this year, you know? And that value, that it's an intrinsic value to a city that you can't put a price tag on, and it's why you've got to fight to hold Major League Sports. Secondly, Major League Sports is a huge attraction when companies are looking to relocate. Right after bottom line taxes and cost of energy and things like that is, what are the amenities in a city? And this city has every single big league team. This city is known to be a crazy sports town, and that has value. There's no question. And of course, we face the bad rap about our fans. And if it's all right, you know, this is national TV, and I always try to defend our fans. And if it's okay, I want to defend. You see Santa out there?
Sure, of course.
Well, remember, when we pounded Santa Claus, and I was a law student, and I was at the game, and I threw snowballs at Santa Claus, too. It was in Franklin Field, and there was a track that ran around the field, so the stands were about 5 feet from where Santa was. We'd won 2 games that year, and that was a disaster because everyone knew O.J. Simpson was out there, and if we'd won no games, we would have gotten O.J. Simpson. Instead, we got Leroy Keys. When the third pick passed up, Mean Joe Green went 4 in that year. We took Leroy Keys. But the fans were surly over the record, surly that we weren't getting Simpson. We were losing to Minnesota. The Santa that the Eagles hired got sick. So they went into the stands and found a guy in a Santa Claus suit. Now, most guys who wear Santa Claus suits to games, let's say they're not bankers. And this Santa was drunk, although he denies it later. He was drunk. His Santa suit was scruffy and dirty, and he was thin. You can't have a thin Santa, so they put him in this sled, and they sent him around the oval. They sent him around the oval, and we were angry, and we just pounded him. We drove him off the sled. Now, I want to tell you, we also have a great sense of humor. We went through the 60s and the early 70s before Dick Vermeil, and we won 2 games a year, 3 games a year. We were awful. And we had a coach, Mike McCormick, and after one game, you might remember this, Mike, McCormick said the Eagles players, he said, we've got a lot of dogs in that locker room. So we're playing Monday night, following the dog remark, and we're getting killed. We're down 42-3, third quarter. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in the stands, and I hear this chant, and I can't make it out. And finally, I do make it out. The fans are yelling, Alpo, Alpo, Alpo. And someone breaks out an inflatable dog bone that was about 6 feet long. And we bat that inflatable dog bone the rest of the game. And, of course, it gets on Monday Night Football.
And let me tell you, I love these fans here. I love the passion of the fans when I was playing here. And you know what? If we weren't playing well, they let us know, and I had no problem with that at all. So let me ask you this. Since Mark Sanchez, now Chip Kelly is certainly the face of this team, but Mark Sanchez is now at the most important position. He's the quarterback of this team. He's a guy that comes from USC, you know, the Hollywood, the good-looking kid, the quarterback at USC. He goes to New York, you know, is in GQ before he even gets a playoff in the NFL. And he got himself into his own trouble off the field a little bit there with some of the things that he did. So now he's a quarterback in Philadelphia. If you had 5 minutes with him to talk about not X's and O's on the field, but being a football on the field, Philadelphia Eagles, and being a player here and how you should be, what would you tell him?
I'd give him the same advice that Adrian gave Rocky. Win. Just win. It doesn't matter statistics. It doesn't matter long passes. If he wins, if he takes us to the Super Bowl, he's got it made, not only for his own contract next year, but he's got it made with the fans here. We want to win. You know, Mike, your teams, I think, were as talented as any in the NFL. The great tragedy, and I go back to the Fog Bowl, because that was the year I think we would have won it all.
I agree.
We never won with our most talented teams. The team that went in 2005 was not nearly as talented as your teams. The team that Dick Vermeil took to the Super Bowl didn't have anywhere close to the talent your team had. This town wants a Super Bowl champion. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, Super Bowl champion or Super Bowl champion or everyone in town getting the guaranteed $80,000 a year income, Super Bowl champion.